The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending, where we believe in a better life through better business. Here, we help you aspire to greatness, achieve your goals, and ascend to new heights. Whether you're starting, scaling, or exiting, we're here to empower you with inspiring stories, enlightening discussions, and transformative resources to help you accelerate your success. Now, it's time for Entrepreneurs Ascending. Welcome to Entrepreneurs Ascending, and this is kind of our refresh. It's been a little while since we've been producing some of these, and it's been a nice little break as we at Time for Success are working on some of the core things that we needed to work on in terms of just our plans for our growth. And it's wonderful to be back in the podcast host seat and be here with you as we work to grow this again and continue to build the community. We're going to continue to work on growing this podcast as well as additional resources for you and for your team as leaders and as business owners, as entrepreneurs. So a little bit more about us and kind of what we're trying to do here and what the refresh is about. And so Time for Success is my main company. And so I am a strategic business coach. I have a heart for helping small business owners. And it's not just about growing profits to me. Really, the profits will come when we take care of the people and create the efficient processes and systems that help those people succeed. And when we do those things right, then the good things will follow. And there's a lot to navigate along the way, and that's why we love helping small businesses. But it's really about better life by better business. And when we work with businesses, we're looking at the whole system holistically. Okay, a business is not just solving one problem at a time necessarily, because everything is interrelated. And so we have to look at, from nose to tail, who are you as a company, and how do you come to the marketplace, and how do you market that? How do you sell that? How does that fit into your operations? And then how do you manage that, for success? How do you make sure that you're profitable? How do you make sure that your people are winning? Right? One thing that somebody said before, though, about the previous introduction for Entrepreneurs Ascending, we talked about how small businesses were struggling while big businesses were growing by the billions. And that was right around the time of COVID. And it was never meant to be anti-big business, because these small businesses, they want to grow and scale, a lot of them, and be able to employ maybe hundreds of employees sometimes, or maybe some folks just want to build a nice little company that they can pass on to their kids, or maybe they can exit. Maybe they can sell for maybe $1 million, a couple $1 million, and be able to retire or go on to the next thing. Everybody has kind of a different view a different view of what success looks like as an entrepreneur. And we want to help you with each of those things, because actually it's all pretty similar and all pretty related in terms of what we need to put in place to be successful. But there's different industries and different nuances, and we're going to cover those throughout the show. But we want you to be able to have your impact. the way that you impact your clients' lives, your customers' lives. We want to be able to help you have your impact for the way that you impact your employees' lives. See, when we take our responsibility as leaders seriously, and we know that as a leader, we can either help or hinder others in terms of where they want to go and their personal vision. And it's about finding those people whose personal visions kind of kind of overlap our vision for our company or our vision for where we want to go as leaders. And if there's some sort of overlap, we can align together and go somewhere together, right? A lot of times people just try to force people into their boxes, and that's kind of a quote unquote toxic, right? People use that word around, they throw it around a lot, but that doesn't really create the best kind of work environment. No, when we create great companies that find the right people and then teach them how to do great things and to grow themselves and to become better, that affects their families, that affects their communities, that affects the world around them at a greater level. And I talk to so many business owners who do care about their employees, but then they become kind of they become a little jaded, if you will, because they did do a lot to try to help people, and then it just didn't quite work out the way they wanted it to. And I'm here to tell you, you know what? Sure, there are people who will certainly take advantage of us as business owners, and there are people who have different points of view on how to get things done. But don't lose heart. Like it's about finding the people who should be on that bus with you and who enjoy working with you. But you are going to have to develop your skills. And that's the trouble that I see for a lot of business owners. I, Look, part of being a business owner, that there's often a certain personality type where you're very driven and you have a fairly clear vision of what's best and where you want to go and how you want to get there. And that's great. That's wonderful. However, you have to be on a personal growth journey. You have to always be learning, and you have to understand that your way is not always the best. And you want to foster creativity. You want to help people to feel like they can bring new ideas to the table when the time is right. Because if you have a business that relies on you always being right, then how do you ever expect to trust other people to do what they think is right? You're never going to be able to teach other people how to analyze and understand the industry, right? And we have a question coming in. How do you know who should be on your team? And that's a great question. We are definitely going to get into that in future episodes quite a bit. And you know what? We'll go ahead and pivot real quick just on that, just for a moment. How do you know who should be on your team? Well, first of all, it starts with a great recruiting process, and that's why we work with our clients to make sure that they're assessing for the right things, they're asking the right questions, and that's from their job uh, their job ad, the way that they put that information out there. You want to make sure that your job ad actually speaks to the right kind of person first and foremost, that it actually is a marketing piece for the right kind of person. See, mar- your marketing is actually consists of okay. Your marketing actually consists of three R's, uh, and that's revenue, which we all know, right? And then that's retaining, which a lot of people think that's just about customers, but it's actually also about great employees that you have recruited. And so it all starts there in that recruiting on that R. Okay. And when you have the right kind of recruiting system that attracts the right kind of people, like you want your marketing to attract the right kind of customers, and then you kind of have that a similar kind of sales process of qualifying those people, right? Just like you qualify a lead, you want to make sure that they're the kind of people that you want to work with on the customer side. You have that on the employee side, right? On the applicant side. And there's some great personality assessments that you can use that can tell if this is the kind of person that might be a good match for you and for the team. Um, but then you also want to give them some behavioral type questions. What would you do in the situation? How would you handle these things? And listen closely. And just as another quick point here, again, we're going to get a lot deeper into this kind of topic in the future because it's one of the most important topics. Um, we actually do some workshops on this very specific topic because it's one of the most uh, pertinent issues for most business owners these days because it's hard finding good help. Because it's also not just about who you attract, it's also who you keep with you, right? What happens on day one when you're onboarding? Do they come in and do they see a big mess? Or do they feel like there's a path for them? Do you make it clear? Are you a good trainer? Or maybe have you hired some good trainers if that's not your strength? And I'm going to ask you, are you the kind of person that great people want to work for? I'm also a John Maxwell certified coach. And one of the things he talks about is, there's the 5 levels of leadership. And if you have an employee who's a higher level of leadership skill than you are, most likely that person's not going to want to stick around unless you've kind of lifted them up because of that leadership skill. There's certain things that we can kind of do if maybe we put somebody in a leadership position, but again, you have to be very, very mindful of that. So that's a wonderful question. So thank you for asking that. And so and this is part of it, actually. I mean, this is part of creating a great business. One of the things that we do is we work with companies on their leadership skills and their training and their cultural processes and cultural transformations, right? Because if you don't have if you're not actually constantly working on helping your employees have the kind of workplace that they want to work for, they want to work at, if there's not a way that you are relating it into what they want to do with their lives, if you don't have an employee development plan, if they don't see some sort of path for, okay, how are you going to make my job better? How are you going to help me grow as a person and become more skilled so that I can grow and develop and take on more responsibility, maybe take on another role that I've been wanting to do. If you don't have those things in place, then people are going to go somewhere else where they can get that, pure and simple. So it's all, part of helping companies have the systems in place to be able to scale and grow. But I wanted to come back to this concept of struggle with a small business and the lack of planning and how it can really hurt them. So actually, before COVID, I was doing workshops on being prepared for recessions, for building a recession-resistant business. And now, these kind of programs are all the rage because people are talking about recession again. And I know Grant Cardone is doing a bulletproof business plan and those kind of things. And I think that's what he's called it, something like that. And that's fantastic. I think that we all need to be shouting from the mountaintops, like, hey, guess what? Recessions happen, surprises happen. And if you are not building a business that can weather the storm, if you're not agile enough, or if, again, you have to be the only one that has all the right answers and you don't have a team that can think creatively and adapt creatively, then you're going to be stuck. But a very interesting statistic that I had in 2019, Okay, but again, 2019, this was pre-COVID. I didn't have some sort of premonition that COVID was coming, but I did know that recessions are simply a part of doing business because guess what? A recession, uh, um, a recession cycle, which is there's an expansion and a contraction of the economy. I know I'm kind of getting nerdy here for a second, but that's on average every 4.7 years ish. Okay, so we know that if you want your business to last longer than 5 years, there's a good chance you're going to have to deal with some sort of recession. But Bluevine did some research, and there was a company that was researching the preparedness of 1,000 small business owners across the country, the preparedness for a recession. Now, 80%, 80% worried about a possible recession. 44% had not taken any steps to prepare, and 36% did not plan to take any special steps. And what's interesting is about 34% of small businesses were still closed from COVID-19 going into mid 2021. So those statistics are pretty close. There was no plan, and so they they just had to try to figure things out on the fly. Now, it's great that there were some businesses that have pulled through, and actually, since 2021 did actually have a record number of new businesses formed. So a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of other businesses closed, and people were able to pivot and start something new. But I think this speaks deeply to the lack of a plan that a small business has. A lot of people get into small business because, well, maybe they lost their job somewhere else, right? They were working for a company and they got fired, or maybe it closed down. In this case, it was COVID, or maybe it was sold and downsized. A lot of people will go and they'll start a small business. They'll say, you know what, I could do this better, and they've got the technical skills. If you haven't read E-Myth yet, and you're a small business owner, it's time to read E-Myth. It hits upon this idea, and it's one of the best known. It's by Michael Gerber. It's one of the best known. Everybody talks about it, so definitely that's something like your must read list, because it's they talk about the entrepreneurial seizure, and that's that moment where you're like, oh, you know what, I can do this. I can do this better. I should be an entrepreneur. I can build a business. Well, the problem is most people get trapped in running the business every day. Most people get trapped on not being able to release some control over to other people. They get trapped not being able to trust other people. They get trapped in their own need to have their hands on everything in their business. And hey, I've had employees that have really screwed some things up, and we've had to pivot, and so I get it. I understand how scary that is. But I've also had some employees who have done incredible things. I've had team members who have surprised me in wonderful ways. And most of the time, I can trace these things back to my work with them. Most of the time, the big mistakes were because I did not step in sooner and make sure that I properly equipped these people with the proper tools, or uh, educated them with the knowledge that they needed, or didn't properly empower them to take ownership of this role. So they were trying to make some assumptions about what I needed and what I wanted, and kind of messed it up because it just wasn't very clear about what we needed to do. And the people who have done some wonderful things, I realized that I was the better leader at those times. I was the better trainer. I gave them the information that they needed. I sat down with them, and when there was a mistake, an early on mistake, I worked with them, and I didn't just necessarily just show them what to do. I talked with them about, like, hey, what happened here? I actually coached them and said, hey, how do you think you can do better? What do you think you can do? and then gave them or made sure that they had the right questions for me too. Hey, I tried to answer their questions. These days, I hear a lot of people getting frustrated by the question why, and and that is that's actually a good thing, I think, and people wanting to know the why behind what you're doing. It typically allows them to have a better understanding and then be able to get to that point of independence a lot faster because they can piece it together in their mind. But a lot of people get frustrated thinking somebody's like questioning their own decision making for why they chose to do something this way. So so the why is good. The why is part of that training process. So what does it take to be successful from startup to exit? Well, that's a great question, of course. But to be successful from startup through exit, there's a few things that you need to put in place. Now, I've been in the consulting realm for about 16 years, going on. Started off kind of on the side, working with some businesses, and then growing to more full time and full capacity. And I've been in business coaching since specifically like more holistic business coaching since 2016. And and so there's a lot that I've seen along the way, but um, I do like the way that scaling up. So I'm becoming also I'm working on my scaling up certification because I think it's just another great tool in the tool belt. I've got my John Maxwell certification, and I've got my background owning a IT company for years, and consulting with other companies, for all these years. I've actually got my DISC certifications as well, so that working with people and their personalities and their motivators and helping them, but also these systems to be able to scale up are critical. But I think one key point of this is kind of the mindset of scaling up versus growing my business. So growing could just be more money, more problems, right? Growing might be, yeah, okay, great. We've got more employees. Great. We've got more revenue. But are those employees doing the things that they should be doing? Are they giving our customers the five-star experience every time? Are they using our five-star process to give that five-star experience every time? We're making a bunch of money, but are we keeping any of it? So I really like the four main pillars of scaling up. There's strategy and how we help businesses with that one page strategic business plan for looking at not just what we're going to do 10 years from now, but we like to bring it back to what are our core values, what's our purpose, our brand promise, what makes us different, and then how are we going to work on that quarter by quarter to achieve that bigger goal. And then people, that they are just the absolute lifeblood of our business. And well, I know that there's a lot of concerns about AI, and we'll get into that in other episodes as well. But for right now, we still rely on people a lot, and we are going to in the future as well, uh, especially when it comes time to battle the AI overlords. I mean, I say that sort of in jest, but we still need people. Still need those people doing great things, and we just want to build that A team for our company, right? And with the question from Country Corners Gazette, how do you know who should be on your team? That's key. How do we make sure that we got the right people on the team, and then make sure that the right people are staying on the team, and then make sure that when we don't have the right people on the team, we need to act on that. And how can we do that in a way that's still respectful of human beings? Because I don't think that everything necessarily needs to start with a disciplinary action, or necessarily even needs to end with a disciplinary action. Sometimes it could just be as simple as, hey, you're not happy here. How can I help you find a place that you're happy at, right? So execution, how do we get things done? And how do we monitor that for success? How do we even define success with that? And then, of course, cash. Again, it's great to have lots of money, but cash flow is critical for running our business effectively. So we're going to cover a lot of those areas, and those are kind of the pillars, like I said, of the scaling up orientation. But we're going to have lots of guests from a variety of orientations. I think we also have a EOS planned. That's another business operating, and there's a great book by Gino Wickman called Traction. So if you're not familiar with like a business operating system is, so in that same vein, Gino Wickman wrote a book called Get a Grip. It's called Get a Grip. And that is like a business parable about the benefits and the kind of the process of putting in a type of business operating system, or the way that you run your business every day and make decisions and keep working towards that ultimate vision. So we appreciate everybody being with us here today. And again, this podcast is about how you are going to achieve your dream as a business owner, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, how you're going to achieve your dream faster, how you're going to scale it up to greater growth with a lot less of the wasted money and a lot less of the wasted headaches, wasted relationships, people that could have been great employees that you just didn't take care of quite in the right way because you just didn't have the skills. And, well, going back to the cash, so often we don't have a plan for how to spend our money. And so we don't have a plan on what to do with that cash flow, right? So we're going to cover that stuff here. So again, great question. We want people to jump on when we're doing this live. We're going to do it as a live radio show. We're going to be doing it as a live TV show as well, with the help of those folks over at Talk 4 TV. So we hope that you'll be able to tune in with us, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for being with us today. But now is the time to put what we talked about into practice. Remember, your family, employees, and community are depending on you to rise up and win. The great news is you're not alone. You're part of a resurgence of entrepreneurs who are ready to take their business, life, and impact to the next level, and we're going to do it together. This show is powered by Time for Success, where we help business owners every day who want more freedom and wealth while building a legacy of positive impact. Please follow Time for Success on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube for more helpful strategies and tools for creating the business and life of your dreams.